Ready? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the school board through Zoom and through audience. I'd like to recognize that we hold our meetings on the Tsimshian Smalliac speaking people. And I know every one of you in this room enjoys the culture and where we live and how we work together as a community in the outlying areas. And I'm proud to be a part of this territory. So on that note, I'm going to call the meeting to order. And I'd like a motion, adoption of the agenda. James, Danielle, all those in favor? Zoom, thank you. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Bond.
Good evening, everybody. We are pleased to have with us today some students and sponsors and the vice principal from Charles Hayes to tell us about their trip to Ottawa, their Experiences Canada trip, and I'm sure they're going to tell us more about that. I had the privilege of flying home with them from Vancouver to Rupert, and I must say that they're looking more awake today than they were that day. They were exhausted. So Ms. Prohaska is here to support, and I'll get you to introduce the students, and Ms. Lee, who is here, the Vice Principal Charles Hayes. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Ms. Prohaska. I'm one of the teachers who was involved in the exchanges or Experience Canada Exchange. And to present today, we have Michaela Johnson and London Lewis-Sauer.
So we have a little slide here about what we did in Experience Canada, with Experience Canada going to Ottawa. We, as a group of 40, traveled from Prince Rupert all the way across the country to Ottawa to meet up with another school, AY Jackson, where we got the chance to experience the big city life in Ottawa, which is completely different from Prince Rupert. It's almost insane how different. And then we brought them back here and we showed them around Prince Rupert and the surrounding area like the Nass Valley and Smithers. And we showed them our culture, specifically a celebrational dinner that almost replicates the Tsimshian feasts and how that works. So if we could move the slide. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Just go next.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so photos of us leaving Prince Rupert. We left at 1 p.m. here, did a 5-hour layover in Vancouver and landed in Ottawa 8 a.m. their time. So at like 5 in the morning, we landed in Ottawa, ready to start the exchange. And then the next day we spent a day at their school. They showed us their local theater production of the Book of Will. We got to see what their different classes were like, how they spent their school day. And we got to see how they spend their school day and like what classes they do. The next day we got to see Ottawa's Parliament. We got what's the word? Immersive experience to see what Ottawa was, or what Parliament was like and how they conduct like the House of Commons versus the House of Senates. And we got to go in and see the temporary House of Commons, which as a debate nerd, I extremely loved. And then we went to see Montreal, where we got one of the teachers from AY to show us around. And we got to see the French side of the country. And we did a small hike. They wanted to show us how different hikes were in Ottawa versus British Columbia. And it was very flat.
So flat.
It was a little stroll in a circle, took about an hour. And then we went to a maple syrup farm where we got to see trees in progress, like how they made maple syrup, how it was traditionally made, and how the native people over there used to make their own tools and stick them in trees and get syrup. They also had alpacas. Yeah, and then we traveled around the Nass in Prince Rupert. We went to go see the Mishka Museum, in the Nass Valley, where they showed us how to make medicine bags. We got our own little medicine bag, and showed us, this really beautiful exhibit with actual indigenous pieces where, they had like masks portrayed how they would traditionally be worn and how they would traditionally use. And we got a little insight on indigenous history in BC. Yeah, the totem poles, yeah. And then we went to the Nisga'a Parliament. Not too sure what their official government name is, but, it's essentially Parliament, but in the Nisga'a, territory. We had a little guide around their main office, and we had a little insight on what they do, and how they do it, and, a fun little activity at the end is we went over how a marriage feast would go over, and a good friend of mine, Sam, got married to me. And then we drove back to Terrace and got to see some beautiful mountains. My twin, Vic Flockton, cried at the sight of the mountains. Just how beautiful BC is compared to their very forest-rich environment in Ontario. And then we stayed in Terrace. So a Cold Mountain View Elementary School let us rent out their gym for 2 nights. So we got to sleep in a gym on the floor. All in one space, and we got to be around Terrace. A few of us got to go thrifting. We got to go see the malls. We got ice cream at the end. Pretty fun. It was a Terrace trip. And then we brought them here and had them spend a day at our school. So we took them to all of our normal classes, showed them the difference between Charles Hayes and our 3 floors and AY Jackson and their 2 floors. And we got to prepare the celebrational dinner that we had. A lot of AY Jackson students and Charles Hayes students came together and prepped the food. I personally did a lot of potato peeling. Some people got to learn how to prepare crab. Others learned how to properly cut vegetables to be put in a stew. And then Michaela Johnson here, hosted this celebrational meal along with another one of our good friends, Sean Pettit. He wasn't able to make it, but on his behalf and hers, the celebrational dinner was amazing. They took this, this project on all by themselves. And, it was pretty much all planned by Michaela and Sean, and it turned out amazing.
Just to quickly step in for some emphasis, when we went to Parliament, I know that I had such an exciting feeling where it's like, I personally enjoy politics a lot and would like to study in the government someday. And so I've never left BC before, and so this was a great opportunity for me to learn about what society and life is like, and it served me purpose from an outside perspective, realizing there is a whole nother world out here other than just Prince Rupert. And so I got this amazing feeling when we did that tour in Parliament, and I was like, hey, we may or may not have the smallest Walmart in BC, but I'm sure we can provide them with a bit of culture. So when we took them to the Nisga'a Museum and Parliament, that was amazing, just seeing them amazed with how our First Nations government is. And so I was thinking, I know Prince Rupert could step up a little bit, so I thought maybe we should try to show them what story means to us in a sense of it's right here. And so when we did this traditional feast, it wasn't really a feast, it was just a celebration dinner, but it had much features like. We brought them this idea of traditional foods, and there were speeches in Smaliak, and we went by a few protocols, and we had a Luck of Lambs dance group come in and show them what culture was like. So instead of just reading about it or hearing about it, they got to be in the same room as drummers and singers. And when I tell you those Ottawa kids broke down, they really broke down. And as much photos as we can cram into one PowerPoint, I cannot describe to you the emotions that were genuinely experienced on this trip between what the Prince Rupert kids felt as opposed to the Ottawa kids, what they felt. And my motivation for this dinner for them was to give them a sense of what it means to be on the Tsimshian territory as they showed us what it means to be in Ottawa. And then we followed that up with a nice classic dinner at the pavilion, which was amazing. We got to pretty much just debrief on the entire trip and talk about our biggest highlights and what we enjoyed. And we all just had such a fantastic time. So we had to unfortunately say our final goodbyes. And even though we just hung out with each other for 2 weeks, the connections and bonds that were built under those 2 weeks were absolutely spectacular. And I'm so glad that we were given this opportunity to. So without further ado, on behalf of Charles Hayes, we just wanted to thank you for giving us that final stamp of approval and saying that we could go on this experience. And I'm sure you guys were able to help provide the idea of perspective for many people who have never left Prince Rupert before. And for them to be going on to such an amazing exchange, such as going to all the way to Ottawa, was amazing for them. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
One thing I'd like to acknowledge is what great public speakers both of you are. I'm looking forward to your political life out there.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you did get to go because the board was like very excited for you. And excited for the kids to come from Ottawa to see something that's completely different. The landscape's completely different. I've been to Ottawa many times. And you're right, it's very flat and I'm sure they actually really enjoy being here to see how we live on our land and our territory because it is amazing. We might get a bit of rain, but today we got a bit of sun. I'm sure they didn't get that lucky, but it was, so I'm totally impressed with you two young people. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I say something?
Of course, go ahead.
I had the pleasure to be at your presentation at the PAC last week, which I enjoyed so very much. And love it again and could listen to you another time. Congratulations, it's fabulous. And yes, I'm gonna keep my eye on these two over there, future leaders in Prince Rupert, so.
Anyone else on
Congratulations.
Zoom? Christy, Mike?
I'll just say, like you guys, my culture shock was Ottawa. I grew up in Prince Rupert, and then when I graduated, I left to go to Carleton University there. And I think one of my first things was somebody said, oh, you know, like we have this, let's go up this mountain. I'm like, it's a hill. It's not a mountain, it's a hill.
Yeah.
They just do not understand. So yeah, it is it's a culture shock both ways, I think. But you guys did an amazing presentation, and I also saw pictures. One of your schoolmates sent me a picture of the Ottawa Senator game, which is my home team. And she said, oh yeah, you know, the game was okay, but I like the Rampage better. So I thought that was kind of awesome. But thank you.
Louisa, Mike, anyone?
Well, for me, it's I feel so proud that our organization is doing this type of thing. It's great to know that the students can go to another place and visit and in exchange. And I think you learn a lot doing that type of thing. So kudos to you, the teachers, and to the students. Keep going. That's the way to do it. Thank you for the presentation.
Sorry, just to interrupt, we have one other student who's come, who's gonna add to the thank yous. Again, was part of the Experiences Canada Exchange. There was 2 groups of students that went. We had people affiliated with the debate team and also students affiliated with the outdoor club. So I believe this is so awesome. And so this is Anaya Escueta, who will be doing one more round of thank yous.
So hi everyone, I'm Naya Squad again. So this is what we did so far for the Ottawa trip. Um so
Just click on insert and see what happens.
okay. So I'm not really the type of person to like take pictures, but I took a few pictures. Like I'm the type of person to like just mesmerize the view in front of me instead of like taking pictures. So we went to the parliament and we discovered I discovered a lot about the parliament because I'm not a type like to be like politics, like I mean not that like interested, but like when I learned stuff about the parliament, it gave me lots of knowledge about it. So it's a really it's an experience where I learned a lot of stuff. And when we went to here in like Prince Rupert and showed them the culture of like our culture here, and for me it was also kind of like a new experience because I didn't grow up here. I was just like new here. I came from like Surrey. So going to Ottawa was like it was really a new experience because like it's different. It's a different type of city where like it's just flat lands and like stuff and like but so when I learned about when we went to Nass Valley, I I learned a lot of stuff about the Nishku culture and the I I really like the part where we went to like bus rides and stuff. That was also really fun. And so I as also as a part of like the outdoor club when we went to hikings, I really love that because I love hiking. So so I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who funded our trip and made it possible for us to like do this exchange trip. The trip like definitely taught me and others that memories that is like memorable and like lessons. We learned a lot of lessons from the trip. So thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and presenting to us tonight. And I'm glad that you all had an experience. It's gonna be a lifelong experience. It's something you'll pick out of that you'll remember forever. So thank you all for coming. And I'm sure you thanked your teachers. It's a long travel for them too, but they're dedicated, right, Asia?
They're so dedicated. My babysitter's leaving in 2 minutes. So
Thank you.
Bye, honey.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Yes.
You're good. You're good to go.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
See you
Soon again.
I actually have an issue with the adoption of the agenda. If I could have a friendly amendment, I have item 7.2.1 that needs to be added. The AFG 2024-2025 proposed spending. Are you okay with that amendment, James and
Yeah.
Danielle? Okay, thanks.
Do you need another motion?
No, that's fine. It's
Okay.
just that I've added it. Okay, can I have a motion for approval of the minutes of the open board meeting held on March 11th, 2024? Danielle? James? All those in favor? Carried. Then we've got 4.1 through 4.9, necessity of closed meeting and agenda. Can I have a motion? James? Christie? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. It looks like we have no correspondence addressed to the board or non-copy to the board. So I guess we'll move on to the superintendent schools report. Ms. Pond, I guess you'll be giving that tonight.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
6.1.1 field trips. Page 9. Anybody has any questions? We had a group come and just share with us about one of them.
Mhm.
Pretty exciting. No questions. We'll move on to 6.1.2 enrollment on page 10. I've added the enrollment graph. And it's kind of interesting. We're trending up a little bit. So it's a good news story, I think. You don't have any questions about that?
Usually James does, don't we?
No, we got it. We have all the numbers written out here, so we're all good.
Okay, good.
And then 6.1.3 is just my learning report. I'm gonna find it in my file here. Underneath it a little bit. There we go. So due to spring break, of course, we only had 2 weeks of school in March, and so, but they were really busy weeks. And there were a lot of community connections in all of our schools. In the elementary schools, Sparky from the fire department was visiting. Rupert Rampage was reading with kids. The RCMP and fire department came to talk to the students about the Guns and Hoses hockey game and what that's all about. Toonies for Tummies is collecting money, and people were asking us a little bit about the background on that. And that money, Toonies for Tummies, that you see at the grocery store, is actually going to the Breakfast Club of Canada, who then the money eventually comes to us. We also have many businesses in Prince Rupert participating by giving money to the Breakfast Club of Canada on our behalf. And many of them come into our schools to support what's going on there, as well as some of our local service clubs who have sort of different mandates. Like the Lions will come and cook a breakfast. And the Rotary Club, of course, always provides apples and has an Interact Club at Charles Hayes. So the community connections are always pretty amazing. And it's great for our students, great learning for them. We're also very thankful to our PACs because especially those 2 weeks, they were busy doing hot lunches for the schools and just providing all different kinds of support. I learned that Conrad School is fundraising for an upcoming grade 5 feast. So I'm looking forward to learning more about that in the future. Probably a little bit of a graduation feast, I'm imagining. And Lahaine has been hosting family luncheons for each class, each division this year. And I got to go and experience that one lunch hour, which was really nice. We also had people skiing and oolakan fishing and participating in all kinds of theme days. And I think the one that was my favorite that I saw was the anything but a backpack day. I don't know if you saw that. Tamara did a post on our social media about it. The innovative things that students were carrying their stuff in to school instead of a backpack. It's worth looking into. Yeah. Early learning, we continue to run our ECE dual credit program, which is in its second of 3 years. And obviously, we still have a great need for ECE educators in our community because we have wait lists for our childcare facilities because there aren't enough educators to support. So this is a really great way to help by getting our students interested in this field now. Also, we have a possibility, or we're working on the possibility of a childcare pilot this summer to relieve some pressure from those wait lists. And as far as early learning, we've got all kinds of things going on. We're getting ready for Ready, Set, Learn sessions for 3 to 4 year olds in May. We've got some play in the K sessions to welcome preschool to kindergarten students into classrooms in June. And we'll be hosting welcome to kindergarten sessions the first week of school in September. So lots going on there to welcome our younger students into our facilities. Last month, I promised I would talk about another one of our priorities and what the data showed. So or the priority that I wanted to speak about was number 3 today, mental health literacy, building capacity for mental health literacy for students, staff, and families in School District 52. So social emotional learning is something that we've been working on for a number of years, probably more than a decade already. And this curriculum helps students to understand their emotions and to learn strategies to deal with them. And we know that building positive relationships with students helps teachers create learning environments that are welcoming and supportive. So it's a really important piece. Lots of students spend a bit of time at the beginning of every day just to check in with kids to see how they're doing, rather than just galloping into the learning, just spending a bit of time. It makes a big difference. Well, we know that mental health is an issue in our community, in our province, in our country, worldwide, actually. And so this year, our implementation days focused on mental health and fostering strength and resilience. So we're also helping our staff with strategies and supports for themselves personally, as well as to teach their students. And with the large framework, we looked at some data, and what we looked at was our student learning surveys, which are happening this year right now. So we won't see that data for a while. But so the data that we looked at is actually from last year. And we wanted to see, you know, kind of what the trends were, what was maybe surprising. And so the framework group found that reported that at the elementary level, 77% of students felt safe. But we're surprised that only 56% of the students feel like they belong. That was very surprising, and it actually had gone down a little bit. We are celebrating that children in care were strong in 3 areas, like very strong, and that there was less disparity between all students and Indigenous students. So there are some surprises, some celebrations at the elementary level. For grade 6 to 8, the majority of students feel welcome at school, and that number feeling safe is actually increasing. So that was good news. 62% of the students felt at least 2 adults care about them in the school, which from my perspective is we've got work to do. Well, from all of ours, I think. At secondary, the numbers for Indigenous and non-Indigenous students are almost at parity. They were really close. Students feel safe at the secondary level and acknowledge that there are people that can help them. They were feeling less welcome than we expected. And we were concerned that Indigenous students are feeling less like they belong. So it always gives us pause to think about how we can listen to student voice and allow them to advocate for what that's about, so that we can understand why. So we're also concerned that all of our results were at the low end of our range over time. And we wonder why. And that they were all at the low end of the provincial average as well, except that that our students feel safe. The fact that our students feel safe was at the high end of like right at the top of the provincial average. So they feel safe, but we still have work to do to make sure that they feel like they belong, that they know that we care about them, that they have people that are really invested in them. And like I was saying, these results were from last spring, and we'll receive the results for this year, probably think in July, usually we receive that. But I just wanted to update you on that.
Thank you, Ms. Bond. It's frightening to think that the student body doesn't feel wanted at the school level. That we obviously need to do lots of work on that and we need to figure out why, because, you know, the color of our skin doesn't dictate who we are as people. We all carry the same organs and body parts inside, and we don't want our children ever think that they're not welcome anywhere. No, that's not what, we're trying to build on what we have and build a brighter future for all students, and our Indigenous students should never feel that they don't belong. That saddens me. It really saddens me, but, you know, history still remains in the background, unfortunately, for some people, and some of us feel, you know, more strong than others about that, but we are going to move on, and we're gonna make a better system for our children, right? For our children now and our future children and those future children, so that's the work we need to do. Anyway, that's my little speech. Moving on, Secretary Treasurer's report, and may Secretary Treasurer enlighten us on where we're going with our finances, please.
Thank you. So item 7.1, March 2024 expenditure reports. So these are your two regular monthly reports. The first one is the expenditures by program as of March 31st, and the second one is the expenditures by category. So the 12-month categories should be at about 25% remaining, and the 10-month categories at about 30% remaining. So if you go down the list, we're looking not too bad. There are some large variances if you see on the far right-hand side, the year-to-date variance. So I'll just point out a couple of them. So the education assistant salary and the support staff salary, as well as the substitute salary, you'll see that there's large variances there. I haven't had the time to actually dig into those, but what I am assuming at this point, what they might, some of it anyways, is related to, might be that just a coding issue there. So some of the substitute costs might actually be part of EA salary or support staff salary for things like absences in those two categories.
Do you have any questions from the board? James?
Yes, so thank you for explaining, what my question was gonna be around those, variances that seem like they're off, but I see they counterbalance each other. And you're probably right about what the reasoning is, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, our next report is, excuse me, I got tickling in my throat. The March 2024 operational department report. I see that James is he's in the room. If you have questions, you better catch. Go ahead.
So I'd like to say thank you to the Katoru maintenance staff for doing a great job in keeping our schools clean and working for the benefit of our students. Pass that along. Thank you.
And my question is, how far along are we on the demolition of the old kitchen? We're moving along?
Yeah, for the new commercial kitchen?
Yes.
Yes, demo is complete, the framing is complete, and plumbing starts this week.
Wow. Bonus.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I will have questions for you, but you'll know when I get there.
Sounds good.
So the March 2024 Information Technology Department report, and you've got the man in the room. If you got any questions? Oh, sorry, pardon me. It's not in front of me, I don't see it.
Did we skip
We did, we
agenda?
skipped something that, and see, I was making fun here, and now James is probably. I need a motion, for the adoption of a resolution. James,
We'll make such a motion.
I need a seconder.
Mike?
Thank you. James, could you read the resolution? I mean, you can just read the, I hear, but.
In accordance with provisions under section 142 of the School Act, the Board of Education of District 52 hereby approves proposed capital plan 2024-25 as provided on the capital plan summary for 2024-2025 submitted to the Ministry of Education and Childcare. I hereby certify this to be a true copy of the resolution for the approval of the proposed capital plan for 2024-25, adopted by the Board of Education on this 15th day of April 2024.
Okay, before we make a motion to adopt it, is there any questions? We're gonna have it on the screen. James is here, he can answer any of your questions and enlighten you of quite an exciting, list of projects.
Mhm.
Some of the things that I kind of need to know about is, like Charles Hayes Conrad flooring replacement, what are we looking at in replacing, like, because we did such a, well, basically, we did the envelope of Charles Hayes, let me know.
Yes, so there would be just selective classrooms that, there's some old carpet at Charles Hayes that should get replaced.
So
and,
we're putting carpet back in.
It depends on each, the responsible principals. They can choose if they like carpet or tile.
Isn't it more efficient to use like flooring that's not carpet now, especially because carpet carries so many allergies?
It depends. If you get a good solution out of nylon carpet, then it's a good commercial carpet that can last,
Okay.
up to 20-25 years. And so it all depends on the needs of the classroom. If there's lots of acoustic reverberation, and carpet's a good suggestion. And then if there's lots of mess, then vinyl would be a good suggestion.
Okay. My other question is the Westview asbestos removal, where are you removing that from?
So these are actually old desks that have been collected from the district, and there's a composite plastic that were built in the 60s, and they contain a small amount of asbestos in the plastic. So they're not harmful to be used, and they can be used in any situation, but we are trying to phase them out. And so we've almost gotten rid of all of them. So what we've had to do is separate the metal from the plastic. And so the plastic is now in bags, but we have to pay to get rid of it. So there's also an old wood-fired boiler or an old oil-fired boiler in there that contains asbestos, and so it would be really nice to abate that. If there's budget now, these ones will be lower on the list. And so what happens is with our AFG, sometimes things come up mid-season and we need to switch priorities. And so we always like to put everything on the list that we kind of have been thinking about for a few years.
Right.
And then if it makes it through the end of the season, then and we have a little bit of money left over, then this would be one of the last ones
Right.
that would get done. Yeah.
Well, as it suggests, it's proposed spending,
That's
so
right.
let's be the people and assume that it's proposed spending. Does anyone have any questions for James? James?
Thank you for putting this together. It's quite the list, and it took you a bit of work, I'm thinking. But yeah, so thank you for putting together all the different things that you're proposing for us. Thank you.
No problem.
Anyone on Zoom want to ask any questions?
No, I'm very comfortable with the list and the manager's commentary about putting it all on there. It may not all happen, but the idea is we need to have an understanding that there is a list of items that need to get dealt with in a reasonable amount of time.
Anyone else? Hearing none, I'll call for adoption of the resolution. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. So that's,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, James. Really, we appreciate all the work that you do in our district and your staff. And, for an old district, we sure make this place shine. And I'm proud of the fact that we have people like you at the helm of it. So thank you so much for all you do for us.
I have to agree, the staff that we have are all phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they really work hard to prioritize things and knock things out as fast and efficiently as possible.
And it shows. I mean, we should be proud for, like I said, we've got some old outdated buildings and I think when you look around and see how each year, summer, spring break, how much comes back to life, right? So thank you. Okay, moving on to committee reports. So I'm the chair, but Brittany stole my
Madam
thunder.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
We've missed something. 7-3.
No, I didn't mention 7-3. I said. Oh, we didn't, we backed up. Okay, pardon me. 7-3, do you have any questions for our IT? Go right ahead, Mr. Horn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'd like to thank IT department, Dinesh, and your department for keeping the technology all working, same thing as with the buildings. And maintaining and upgrading for the security of our students. Thank you very much for the hard work that the department does.
Welcome, thank you.
And I thank you too. I mean, we have phenomenal, we have, I think, a pretty united board of trustees. I think we. And we couldn't do any better for like a skeleton crew. You get out, so thank you. Kudos, kudos. Did I miss anything else, Mr. Horn?
I think you've got it.
Thank you. Wheezy, now, don't be laughing. Okay. The Finance and Building Committee, Brittany has shared with you, the Secretary Treasurer, what our finances are looking like year to date. So, I mean, there's some cleanup that needs to be made, and I'm sure she's gonna delve into that and find out where that money needs to be transferred to. So she'll reconcile that eventually, but it's, like I said, a skeleton crew and things take time. Framework for enhancement. Trustee Horn?
We didn't sit since the last meeting, but thanks to my Director of Instruction, Sandy, for your little spiel about it in your thing earlier. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Provincial Council,
Coming up this coming week.
and I see Roberta's on there. Did you have an Indigenous Education Council meeting? Yeah.
No, we haven't had one. We will be setting a date for our next one though, soon.
Thank you. Policy Committee, I see there's policies. I'll turn that over to you.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve policies 1610, the field trip policy, 2340, release time of staff to act as resource personnel policy, and 2360, employee conduct and political activity policy.
Can I have a seconder?
Second, Mike.
Okay. Did you say 2360?
Yes.
My ears are all plugged up, so I couldn't hear that.
No worries, all
Okay.
three.
All those in favor, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And then
Carried.
a motion to send to stakeholders for review, 4310, occupational health and safety policy, 5110, corporate sponsorship and access to students policy.
Do I have a seconder?
Mike.
Well, Danielle. Sorry, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
And that's it for the policy committee.
Thank you. I assume that we didn't have any feedback for the ones we're approving, as you
No,
mentioned.
no, they didn't.
No stakeholder, okay. Thank you. 8.6, District Technology Steering Committee.
And we haven't sat since the
Okay.
last.
Thank you. Is there any old business? Andrew?
No old business.
Thank you. New business, BC STA motion. And I believe that, we should have had a motion in our package, so I could have added it to the agenda.
Madam Chair,
So
if
is
I
there-
may,
What's that?
Pass to Andrew.
Go
Yeah,
go
this is-
ahead.
this is, Madam Chair, this is the issue that we didn't receive clear directions on this. This was the issue of creating a motion that would, in my understanding, be presented to the BC STA meeting this week, that basically would be encouraging the ministry to investigate the net adverse effects of the reduction of the unique geographical factors for small and rural school districts. But I had conflicting direction from board members that this is really a board issue as opposed to the bureaucracy here writing it as a motion for an open public meeting.
Oh,
Thank you, Andrew. So, with the board not all together on the same page, we are advising not to proceed with a motion.
okay, so there's actually no new business on BCSTA motion. Sherry Metlakatla LEA, and it's on your page 24 of your agenda. And I'm sorry that I didn't get to go to Metlakatla. Unfortunately, I had some health issues I had to deal with, so I'm always saddened by not going. I'm sure you had some traditional food. Did you have any traditional? Bert's going, yes. Thank you for that. I didn't even get a care package.
Traditional Arabic, yeah, it was really good too.
And what?
Traditional Arabic.
Wow.
Oh, God. Okay, don't be talking.
Madam Chair, if I may, either Roberta or I could just talk about that. We did go out for the signing, and the chair was with us, and in your package is the actual LEA. And I'm just debating, and maybe Madam Chair, I can seek your direction on whether the board needs to pass a motion to approve the LEA. We did the signing ceremony with the chair.
Yes, we do. We pass it at the next board meeting. So I need an approval to approve the LEA.
Okay.
Mike?
Yeah,
James?
Mike.
Have you taken the opportunity to read the LEA? Are you all in favor?
Oh, I'd like to speak to.
We have a question?
Oh, okay, sorry. Any questions on the LEA?
Okay.
Danielle?
So yes, I read it, and there's a couple of things that I don't understand, probably because I'm just new to
That's
this.
fine.
But it's not, things that are major, but for example, if we talk about the board, like on page 25, 2.1C, the board means the Board of Education and those individual designated by the board to fulfill the duties laid out. So like, who are those individuals?
Well, that would be our senior staff.
So those are the,
Yeah, that's it. That would be like people like Andrew or his designate.
okay,
Roberta is a part of this
part,
Indigenous committee, so yes, those would be the people that would,
and I wasn't sure what the district funding allocation was. I know it says that it means the fund received by the board from the province. So is that something?
it's part of our funding that we receive. Andrew, give her the clarification. It's part of our funding we receive for our budget, but.
For each student then, so not just Metlakatla, but funding for
Andrew,
each
can you,
student?
or correct me when if you, explain it to her better?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Trustee Dalton, the board does receive, it's almost like a flow through that based on the number of students who reside in Metlakatla. This agreement covers that, the students come over. There's a separate agreement for transportation, and there's a number of rules for it. This document sets out what those rules are, who has responsibility for what. And then, as students of our district, they have, Metlakatla students have, the funding flows through to us so that we provide those services such as special needs services, assessment services, counseling services. It spells out that these are our responsibilities in accepting their students on our district, into our district.
So that's extra funding,
No,
not
it's
just the funding.
no, the ministry funds Metlakatla students as if they were, really in our district. There are.
So there's
there are
no
students.
extra funding, it's just the funding, the
The
administrative,
allocation
to
is
each student,
just a matter what.
whether
like
Metlakatla
18
or.
Correct.
They're included in the 1,800 and whatever, 54 we
Perfect.
had.
Okay,
Correct.
that was,
The base funding is the same, yeah. And then any student who has an IEP or has a designation that allows for additional funding, we also receive the additional funding.
Okay.
Roberta, you could probably correct me, the transportation coordinator position, Metlakatla pays for that.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right,
that-
yeah.
yeah.
So, just to add to that, Andrew, when we have a local education agreement, attached with the financial, commitment, Indigenous Services Canada, that funding goes to each, First Nations community who has students living on reserve that are going to attend a public school system. So they have the authority to negotiate what kind of local education agreement and partnership that they want with the school, how they want their kids educated, what services they need to be provided. So it's an agreement that we come together and we negotiate throughout the year and come to an understanding that, yes, we're accountable. Send your students to our district, and then they take the money and then they hand it over to us each year.
okay. I was, looking at the transportation and whatnot. So is Metlakatla pay the district for, Metlakatla pay for its own transportation for the student from Metlakatla to Prince Rupert?
There's a funding agreement with something called the BCT, and that's the sort of a tripartite federal, provincial, and the district funding for the transportation. So the ferry costs and the bus to drive the kids from the ferry landing up to our schools is covered by that.
But a tripartite funding.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. It's fully funded.
Anything
All right,
else?
everything else,
James?
answered. Thank you so much.
James?
Oh, I'd like to, I attended the ceremony. I'd like to thank all the peoples of Metlakatla who were very welcoming to us when we attended. It was a fantastic day we had and very pleasant, and they gave us a tour and took us around. It was a great day. I'd like to very much to thank the peoples that helped us out, and the fact that they put this agreement together. There's been a lot of work, and thank you for that as well. So thank you very much.
Is there anything else from the board? Motion on the table? All those in favor? Carried. Carried. And information items. So the board, some board members will be and some won't be attending the BCSTA AGM, April 18th to the 21st, 2024. And just for the information for people who don't know what this is where we get to go and fight on behalf of I call it a fight because it's a fight. It's always a fight on behalf of the school district to try to, find ways to make governments and BCSTA members realize that rural areas are not funded the same way larger districts are, and that was one of the resolutions. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what happened there, but I guess I'll find out. It's a voting system. We don't have a lot of votes because we're a small district, but we still gather up with the branches that's from the interior and from the northwest to try to come together as a group and have one voice. So that's what that's about. Professional Development Day is May 17th. Oh my goodness, Victoria Day, May 20th. We're going into May already. Board of Education meeting, I know, it's just go flying by, I'll be retired before you know it. And their Board of Education meeting is on May 21st. And then there's another Professional Development Day Regional, and that's on April 19th. And now we move on to the 10-minute question and answer period. And I see there's a couple people on the Zoom, so anyone want to speak? Got a quiet group tonight. Going a second time? Third and final call. Well, that concludes the business of the board. Everyone have a beautiful night.
Thank you, everybody.
Beautiful night.
Thank
Oh,
you all.
Good night.
Cheers.
Sorry, I couldn't get the meeting, in camera because the plane was late. And sorry about